Life is a journey filled with both sunshine and storms. But have you ever wondered why the storms hit us, why the challenges seem so relentless at times? I believe these moments are when God is testing us not to see us fail, but to strengthen and transform us into something extraordinary. When God tests you, it's not about punishment, it's about preparation. These tests are not meant to break you, but to build you. Let's explore what really happens when God puts us through his divine trials. When God tests you, one of the most profound outcomes is the strengthening of your faith. These moments of trial often come when things seem uncertain or when the path ahead feels shrouded in darkness. It's during these times that faith becomes more than just a word or an idea, it becomes your anchor. Think about it. When life is smooth and free of obstacles, it's easy to believe that everything is within your control. You might feel self-sufficient, as though you're steering the ship of your life all on your own. But when the winds change, when the storms of life begin to rage, you realize how limited human strength truly is. This is when God steps in, not to overwhelm you, but to invite you into a deeper reliance on him. Faith isn't built in comfort, it's forged in challenges. It's in those moments of uncertainty, when answers are delayed, when prayers seem unanswered, and when the weight of doubt begins to press on your spirit, that you have a choice. Will you succumb to fear, or will you lean into the promises of God? God's tests are his way of teaching you to trust him fully, even when the road is unclear. They remind you that he sees what you cannot, that his plans for you are good, and that his timing is perfect. Faith doesn't eliminate questions or doubts, but it gives you the courage to keep moving forward, even when you don't have all the answers. Each test you endure becomes a testimony of his faithfulness. Every time you step out in faith, you grow stronger and more assured in his ability to provide, to protect, and to guide. Over time, you begin to notice a transformation within yourself. What used to shake you no longer has the same power. The fear of the unknown starts to fade, replaced by a quiet confidence in God's love and sovereignty. This doesn't mean that tests become easier, but your response to them changes. You learn to walk by faith, not by sight, knowing that God's presence is with you every step of the way. And in the process, your faith becomes not just something you hold on to, but a defining part of who you are. When God tests you, one of the most significant impacts is the refining of your character. Trials are like a divine furnace where impurities are burned away, leaving behind a purer, stronger, and more resilient version of yourself. These challenges are not random or meaningless, they are intentional and purposeful, designed to help you grow into the person God intends for you to be. Think of gold being refined by fire. It begins with imperfections, impurities mixed into the metal that must be removed to reveal its true beauty and value. The process involves intense heat, a fire that melts the gold, separating it from anything that does not belong. Similarly, God allows us to go through the fires of life, not to destroy us, but to remove what hinders our growth. These may be things like pride, selfishness, impatience, fear, or even attachments to worldly possessions or desires. At first, the process may feel overwhelming, even painful. You might question why you're facing such difficulties and wonder if it will ever end. But it's in these moments of discomfort that transformation begins. Trials reveal what's hidden beneath the surface, our weaknesses, insecurities, and areas where we need growth. These revelations aren't meant to shame us, but to encourage us to lean into God's grace and allow him to do the necessary work within us. Through challenges, God teaches us humility, patience, and perseverance. He molds our hearts to become more compassionate, our minds to be more focused on what truly matters, and our actions to reflect his love and wisdom. The process is rarely quick, as true change takes time. But each small step of progress builds upon the last, gradually shaping you into someone who reflects God's image more clearly. Over time, you begin to notice the fruits of this refinement in your daily life. You respond to difficulties with greater grace and understanding. You become more forgiving of others because you've experienced the power of God's forgiveness in your own life. You find strength in moments of weakness, knowing that God's power is made perfect when you rely on him. This refining process is ongoing, and it doesn't end with one trial or season. Each test you face becomes an opportunity for God to continue his transformative work in you. And as your character is refined, you find yourself becoming a beacon of hope and inspiration for others, demonstrating the beauty of a life surrendered to God's purpose. When God tests you, one of the most transformative things that happens is that he draws you closer to him. In life's most challenging moments, when everything seems to be falling apart or the answers you seek are nowhere to be found, you often find yourself turning to God more fervently than ever before. It's in these times of uncertainty and struggle that your relationship with Him deepens, shifting from something routine or distant to something deeply personal and intimate. When life is going smoothly, it's easy to rely on your own strength, to focus on the busyness of daily life, and to unintentionally place God in the background. But when trials come, they have a way of stripping away the distractions, the comforts, and even the illusions of control. You're left with the undeniable truth that you need Him not just for the solution to your problems, but for peace, comfort, and guidance through the storm. In these moments, prayer often takes on a new depth. It's no longer just a formality or a recitation of familiar words. It becomes a heartfelt cry, an honest conversation, and a genuine seeking of His presence. You begin to pour out your heart to Him in ways you might not have before, sharing your fears, your doubts, and your hopes. And as you draw near to Him, you begin to sense His nearness as well, a reminder of His promise that He is always with you, even in the darkest valleys. These tests also encourage you to seek His word more intentionally. You find yourself turning to Scripture not just for knowledge, but for reassurance, wisdom, and hope. The verses that once seemed distant or abstract come alive, speaking directly to your situation and offering a sense of clarity and purpose. You begin to understand that the Bible is not just a book of ancient stories, but a living testament to God's faithfulness, a guide that strengthens your spirit and reminds you of His love. Through this process, your relationship with God becomes more than just a set of beliefs, it becomes a lived experience. You come to know Him not only as a creator or a distant deity, but as a loving Father, a faithful friend, and a constant source of strength. You realize that His presence is not something you have to earn or strive for. It's a gift that He freely offers, especially in times of need. And as you draw closer to Him, you start to see your trials in a new light. They are no longer just obstacles to overcome, but opportunities to experience His grace and power in ways you never have before. You begin to trust Him more deeply, not because your circumstances have changed, but because your understanding of His character has grown. You know that He is good, that He is for you, and that He is working all things together for your good. Through the testing, you come to cherish your relationship with Him, realizing that no challenge or difficulty can separate you from His love. When God tests you, one of the most meaningful outcomes is that He prepares you for greater responsibilities. These tests are not random events, they are part of a divine plan designed to equip you for a higher calling. Just as a student must pass exams before moving to the next level, God uses trials to prepare you for the roles and opportunities He has in store for you. Each challenge you face serves as training, shaping you into someone capable of handling greater tasks with wisdom, strength, and humility. At first, the weight of the test may feel overwhelming. You may wonder why you're being put through such difficulties or question whether you're capable of enduring them. But God sees what you cannot see: your potential, your hidden abilities, and the future He has prepared for you. He knows that to carry greater responsibilities, you need to be refined and strengthened. The challenges you face are not meant to break you, but to prepare you, like a craftsman shaping raw material into a masterpiece. During these trials, you learn valuable lessons that you couldn't acquire any other way. You develop perseverance as you navigate prolonged difficulties. You gain empathy by experiencing hardship yourself, which enables you to better understand and support others in their struggles. You learn the importance of dependence on God, realizing that true success comes not from your own strength, but from His guidance and provision. These lessons are not just for the moment, they are lifelong tools that prepare you for the greater tasks ahead. God's tests also help you recognize and overcome limitations that could hinder your future growth. They reveal areas where you need to grow in discipline, patience, or trust. They challenge you to let go of habits, fears, or attitudes that may hold you back from fully stepping into the responsibilities He's preparing for you. This process can be uncomfortable, but it's essential for becoming the person God is calling you to be. As you go through these tests, you may not always see the purpose in the moment. But looking back, you begin to recognize how every trial was a stepping stone leading you closer to the bigger picture. Perhaps a difficult relationship taught you how to lead with compassion. Maybe a financial struggle prepared you to steward resources wisely. Or a season of waiting taught you the value of trusting God's timing. Every experience, no matter how challenging, plays a role in shaping you for the greater responsibilities ahead. When the time comes for you to step into these new roles, you'll find yourself better equipped because of the tests you've endured. You'll approach challenges with confidence, knowing that the same God who brought you through the trials is the one who placed you in this position. And you'll carry out your responsibilities with humility, remembering that it was God's work in you, not just your own effort, that prepared you for this moment. Through these tests, God isn't just preparing you for a task, He's preparing you to make an impact. He's shaping you into someone who can lead, serve, and inspire others in ways that glorify Him and advance His kingdom. What once felt like a burden becomes a blessing as you realize that every test was a part of His loving plan to prepare you for something far greater than you ever imagined. When God tests you, one of the most profound revelations is the discovery of your true strength. Often we go through life with a limited understanding of what we are capable of, relying on our own perception of our abilities or the affirmations of others. However, it is in moments of testing, when we are pushed beyond our comfort zones and faced with seemingly insurmountable challenges, that our hidden reserves of strength are revealed. God allows these trials not to show us our weaknesses, but to unveil the extraordinary power He has placed within us, a power that is rooted in faith and dependence on Him. At the onset of a trial, it's natural to feel overwhelmed or even defeated. You may question why you are being subjected to such difficulties and whether you have the capacity to endure them. But as you persevere, leaning on God for guidance and support, you begin to see glimpses of resilience you never knew you had. The obstacles that once seemed impossible to overcome gradually become stepping stones, and with each step forward, your confidence grows not in your own strength, but in the strength that comes from God working through you. This process is transformative. As the trial unfolds, you start to understand that the limitations you once placed on yourself were not reflections of your true potential, but boundaries created by fear, doubt, or a lack of trust in God's plan. The tests force you to confront these barriers and break through them, revealing a deeper, more steadfast version of yourself. You realize that the strength you possess is not merely physical or emotional, it is spiritual. It is the strength that comes from faith, from believing that with God, all things are possible. Through these experiences, you also learn the value of dependence on God. True strength is not about going it alone, it's about recognizing that you don't have to. God's power is made perfect in your weakness, and His strength becomes your own when you surrender your fears and trust in His guidance. This partnership between your willingness to act and God's power to sustain you creates a force that can withstand any trial. As you continue to navigate the challenges, you begin to notice a shift in your perspective. What once felt like an impossible burden becomes a testimony to God's faithfulness and your ability to endure. You develop a quiet confidence, not rooted in arrogance, but in the assurance that God is with you, equipping you for every battle. You start to see trials not as threats, but as opportunities to grow, to deepen your relationship with God, and to discover even more about the strength He has placed within you. The strength you uncover during these tests doesn't just benefit you in the moment, it becomes a foundation for the rest of your life. You emerge from each trial with a renewed sense of purpose, ready to face future challenges with courage and faith. You also become a source of inspiration to others, demonstrating through your example that God's strength is sufficient for any challenge. Your journey becomes a testament to the power of faith and the incredible resilience that God has built into each of us. Ultimately, the tests reveal that your true strength is not in what you can achieve on your own, but in what God can accomplish through you. And as you walk forward, empowered by this truth, you carry with you the unshakable knowledge that no matter what lies ahead, you have the strength to overcome, because God is your source of power and your ever-present help in times of need. When God tests you, one of the most valuable lessons you learn is the virtue of patience. Patience is not something that comes naturally to most of us. In a world that prioritizes instant results and immediate gratification, waiting can feel like an unwelcome burden. But when God allows us to face trials that require time to resolve, He is teaching us something profound: to trust in His perfect timing and to understand that the waiting is not wasted. It is in these moments that patience is cultivated and refined, shaping us into individuals who can endure with grace and faith. When faced with trials, our instinct is often to seek quick solutions or immediate answers. We want the struggle to end as quickly as possible, and we may even find ourselves questioning God when the resolution doesn't come as expected. Why the delay? Why the prolonged silence? These questions can create frustration and doubt. But what we often fail to realize in the moment is that God is using the waiting period to work within us, to prepare us for what lies ahead, and to align our hearts with His will. Patience is not passive, it's an active process of trust and surrender. While you wait, God is teaching you to rely on Him fully, even when the outcome is unclear. The process deepens your relationship with Him as you learn to listen for His guidance, trust His promises, and remain steadfast in your faith despite the uncertainty. It's in these waiting seasons that you begin to understand that God's delays are not denials. They are opportunities for growth, for reflection, and for the strengthening of your character. During this time, you may also begin to see the bigger picture. Perhaps what you're waiting for is something that requires preparation not just on your part, but in the circumstances around you. God's timing is perfect, and He orchestrates everything according to His divine plan. What may seem like a delay to you could actually be the time needed to bring all the pieces together for the best possible outcome. He may be protecting you from something you can't yet see, or preparing you for blessings far greater than you imagined. Patience also teaches you gratitude. As you wait, you start to recognize and appreciate the smaller blessings in your life that you may have overlooked before. You develop a sense of peace, knowing that God is in control and that His plans for you are always for your good. This shift in perspective helps you to embrace the waiting, not with resentment, but with hope and expectation for what God is doing behind the scenes. As time goes on, you begin to notice the fruit of patience in your life. You respond to challenges with greater calm and resilience. You become less reactive and more thoughtful, understanding that not every problem requires an immediate solution. You also become a source of encouragement to others who are going through their own seasons of waiting, offering wisdom and comfort drawn from your own experiences. Ultimately, the tests that teach you patience are some of the most transformative. They remind you that God's ways are higher than your ways and that His timing is always perfect, even when it doesn't align with your expectations. Through the waiting, you come to trust Him more deeply, knowing that His plans are worth the wait and that every delay has a purpose. And when the resolution finally comes, it's often more beautiful and fulfilling than you could have ever imagined, a testament to the power of trusting in God's perfect timing. When God tests you, one of the most profound realizations that often arises is the discovery of your deeper purpose. In the midst of trials and challenges, life's noise begins to quiet, and your attention is drawn to things that truly matter. God uses these moments of difficulty to peel away distractions, surface-level ambitions, and misplaced priorities, allowing you to see the unique calling He has placed on your life. These tests are not meant to discourage you, but to guide you toward clarity about your purpose and the role you are meant to play in His greater plan. When life is comfortable and predictable, it's easy to focus on temporary goals or to live according to others' expectations. However, when challenges disrupt that comfort, they create space for introspection. You start asking deeper questions. Why am I going through this? What is God trying to teach me? What does He want me to do with my life? These questions aren't signs of doubt. They are the beginning of a journey toward understanding your divine purpose. God often uses trials to realign your focus. Perhaps you've been pursuing goals that don't fully align with His plan for you, or you've been prioritizing things that, in the grand scheme of eternity, don't hold lasting value. Challenges force you to reevaluate and seek guidance from Him. As you surrender your plans and seek His wisdom, you begin to see glimpses of the path He has designed for you. This process isn't always immediate. It requires patience, prayer, and trust. But slowly, through the test, clarity emerges. These trials also help you develop the qualities needed to fulfill your purpose. For example, enduring hardships teaches you resilience and perseverance, traits that are essential for any calling. Walking through difficulties fosters empathy, equipping you to serve and connect with others in meaningful ways. Overcoming obstacles builds your faith, ensuring that when you step into your purpose, you do so with full reliance on God. These are not incidental lessons. They are intentional preparations for the work He has planned for you. Sometimes your purpose may even be revealed directly through the trial itself. Perhaps you experience a significant challenge, and in navigating it, you develop a passion for helping others facing similar circumstances. Or maybe the testing season opens doors you hadn't considered before, leading you to discover talents, skills, or interests that align with God's calling for you. Through these experiences, you begin to understand that your pain was not without purpose. It was a stepping stone towards something greater. Finding your purpose doesn't mean the challenges disappear, rather, it gives them meaning. The knowledge that your trials are part of a larger plan transforms how you perceive and endure them. Instead of feeling like a victim of circumstance, you see yourself as an active participant in God's work. Each step forward, no matter how small, becomes a testament to His faithfulness and your willingness to walk in obedience. As you continue to uncover your purpose, you may find that it extends beyond yourself. God's plans often involve serving others, whether it's through encouragement, leadership, compassion, or advocacy. Your trials equip you to step into these roles with authenticity and humility, knowing firsthand the power of God's guidance and grace. Ultimately, discovering your purpose is one of the most fulfilling aspects of being tested by God. It transforms your perspective, giving you a sense of direction and meaning that transcends the difficulties of the moment. You realize that you are part of something much larger than yourself, a divine narrative where every experience, both joyful and painful, is woven together for a greater good. And as you walk in that purpose, you reflect God's light in a world that desperately needs it, showing others the beauty of a life lived according to His will. When God tests you, one of the most powerful outcomes is the deepening of your spiritual maturity. Spiritual growth is not something that happens automatically. It often requires seasons of challenge and reflection. Through trials, God stretches you, teaches you, and molds you into a person who can walk more closely with Him, discerning His will and reflecting His character. These moments of testing serve as opportunities to grow beyond superficial faith into a profound and enduring relationship with God. At first, trials may feel like interruptions to your spiritual journey, moments where you wonder why life has taken such a difficult turn. You may feel frustration, fear, or even doubt as you face circumstances that seem insurmountable. But as you move through the experience, you begin to see how these challenges are actually invitations to deepen your faith. God doesn't test you to punish or weaken you. He tests you to help you grow into the person He created you to be. One way spiritual maturity develops during testing is through a deeper understanding of God's nature. In moments of trial, you are often brought face to face with your own limitations. It's in these moments that you discover the vastness of God's strength, wisdom, and love. You come to understand that He is sovereign over all things, even the challenges you face, and that His plans are always for your good. This recognition builds a sense of trust that transcends your circumstances. Spiritual maturity also grows as you learn to respond to trials with faith and not fear. In the early stages of your journey, it's natural to react to difficulties with anxiety or despair. But as you walk through these experiences and see God's faithfulness time and again, your perspective begins to change. You learn to face trials with a calm assurance, knowing that God is with you and that He is working everything for a greater purpose. This shift in perspective is a hallmark of spiritual growth, as it reflects a deepened reliance on God. Another key aspect of spiritual maturity is the development of discipline and perseverance. Trials often demand sustained effort and patience, teaching you to persist even when the road is difficult. These qualities are essential for a mature faith, enabling you to remain steadfast in your walk with God regardless of external circumstances. You also learn to seek Him consistently, turning to prayer and Scripture not just as a last resort, but as your first response. Testing also cultivates humility, an essential aspect of spiritual maturity. Challenges remind you that you are not in control and that true strength comes from God alone. This realization fosters a sense of dependence on Him, stripping away pride and self-reliance. As you grow in humility, you become more open to His guidance, more teachable in your faith, and more willing to surrender your plans to His will. Over time, the spiritual growth that comes through testing becomes evident in your life. You find yourself more grounded, less shaken by life's ups and downs, and more attuned to God's presence in every situation. Your faith becomes not just something you practice, but a defining part of who you are. You begin to see trials not as obstacles, but as opportunities to grow closer to God and to become more like Christ in your thoughts, words, and actions. Ultimately, the tests you face shape you into someone who can handle the complexities and challenges of life with grace and wisdom. They prepare you for deeper responsibilities, greater blessings, and a more profound impact on those around you. Spiritual maturity is not about reaching a destination, but about continually growing in your relationship with God, becoming more aligned with His purposes and more reflective of His love. Through testing, you are refined, strengthened, and drawn closer to the heart of God, enabling you to live a life that honors Him in every way. When God tests you, one of the most transformative aspects of the experience is the cultivation of unshakable faith. Faith is the cornerstone of your spiritual journey, and it is often through testing that it is refined and solidified. These moments of challenge are not designed to weaken your belief, but to strengthen it, proving its resilience and teaching you to trust in God even when circumstances seem uncertain or overwhelming. At the heart of unshakable faith is trust, and trust is often forged in the fire of adversity. When life is smooth and predictable, it's easy to say you trust God, but the true depth of your faith is revealed when you face trials. In those moments, you are called to lean not on your own understanding, but on God's promises and His character. It's a process of learning to rely on Him, not because you can see the outcome, but because you know He is faithful and sovereign. Trials challenge you to move beyond a surface level belief and into a deeper relationship with God. They force you to confront doubts, fears, and uncertainties, and to bring them before Him in prayer. In doing so, you discover that faith is not about having all the answers or controlling the outcome. It's about trusting in the one who does. This shift in perspective transforms how you approach life, giving you a sense of peace and confidence that is not tied to your circumstances, but rooted in your relationship with God. Through testing, you also learn the importance of persistence in faith. There will be times when the answers you seek don't come immediately, and the waiting may feel like silence. But these periods of uncertainty are where faith grows strongest. As you continue to seek God, even in the absence of clear answers, you develop a faith that endures. This endurance is not born out of blind optimism, but out of a growing awareness of God's presence and His unwavering commitment to your good. Testing also teaches you that faith is active, not passive. It requires you to step out in trust, even when the path ahead is unclear. Whether it's making a difficult decision, standing firm in your beliefs, or continuing to hope in the face of disappointment, faith calls you to action. These steps of obedience, however small, are acts of trust that deepen your reliance on God. And with each step, you find that He is faithful to guide and sustain you. As your faith is tested, you begin to see the power of God working in your life in ways you may not have noticed before. You witness prayers being answered, often in ways you didn't expect. You experience moments of peace and clarity that defy the circumstances you are facing. And you begin to recognize that even in the hardest moments, God is present, providing strength and grace to carry you through. These experiences become the building blocks of an unshakable faith, a faith grounded not in abstract ideas, but in the lived reality of God's faithfulness. Unshakable faith also brings a profound sense of freedom. When you trust God fully, you are no longer held captive by fear or anxiety about the future. You understand that your life is in His hands and that His plans for you are good. This freedom allows you to approach challenges with courage, knowing that no matter what happens, God is with you and for you. Ultimately, the testing of your faith is not about proving your worth to God. It's about strengthening your connection with Him. Each trial becomes an opportunity to draw closer, to experience His love and power in new ways, and to grow into the person He created you to be. And as your faith grows, it becomes a light to others, inspiring them to trust in God as they witness His work in your life. Through testing, your faith is transformed from something fragile and conditional into something enduring and unshakable, a testament to the power and goodness of God.